Internets, Jesus loves you. My name's Cody, and this is the Christian News Show we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays with GeeksOutofGrace.com. And I'm just gonna say this, I really like today's show, and that's because this is how this is gonna go. Our first story of the day is about Elevation Church having a water slide baptism. And if that sounds too crazy to be true, don't worry. It is. So Babylon Bee wrote this article. They're kind of like the Christian version of The Onion. You know, it's a satire website. It's to be funny. And the story was that the Church of Stephen Furtick installed a water slide so that when they were doing baptisms, people would go down the water slide and then be baptized. I mean, you'd think that's pretty obvious that it's fake. But apparently people saw Megachurch and not Babylon Bee, or they just didn't know what Babylon Bee was. But I found the headline on a different website and I was like, this is not a satirical website, so I need to see what they're trying to say here. Basically, so many people believed this Babylon Bee story that another article had to be written saying, hey, this isn't real. I mean, come on, of course they didn't use a water slide for their baptisms. They used a hot spring jacuzzi. And then moving on to the second story of the day, there is a movie coming out that I need to talk about. It is a movie called Priceless. It's a movie coming out October 14th. It also seems as though it has music from For King and Country, which is interesting because Ben-Hur is coming out later this August, and that also has For King and Country music. So good on those guys. This movie's going to be a drama. It looks very well done, and it's about human trafficking. I'm a little confused with the exact plot, but it seems as though the main character is this guy who's done a ton of bad things. He goes, I just want to do one thing right. He then finds a truck with people being trafficked, gets caught up in all of the traffic ring stuff, and ends up trying to save them. I remember playing Watch Dogs. It's a very mature video game, but in that you were fighting human trafficking as well, and I thought it was a great way to bring awareness to the issue. There are so many people who believe that slavery doesn't exist anymore, especially not in the United States, and it does, so we need stuff like this that brings that to light. And the final story of the day, probably one of the best news stories I've seen in a long time. Churches in Sweden are preparing to take on ISIS, going so far as to acquire military drones. But this is what's gonna make you smile. They're not bombing ISIS. They aren't spying on them. Instead, they will be taking these drones and dropping thousands of Bibles over ISIS territory. And that has to be one of the most Christian things I can think of. So that everyone knows, this is specifically the Word of Life Church. They're saying this isn't something new. Like, churches have been smuggling Bibles into illegal territories for years, but it is definitely a new way of doing so. I mean, they are in the safety of their own country. These are computerized drones. If they get bombed down, the Bibles just land in one place, I guess. You know, it's safer, it's innovative. Don't know how ISIS is going to respond to Sweden about this, because the country itself isn't really doing anything. But I don't know, if this doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. I mean, they are dropping Bibles on ISIS. That's cool. But going on to the question of the day, we're gonna go back to Christian movies. It's kind of a Christian movie, this Priceless. What is your favorite Christian movie so far? For me, I think I'm split between a movie called Believe Me, which was a satire about Christianity, but it was a Christian-made movie. Great stuff. If you like John Acuff stuff Christians like, you'll probably like this quite a bit. And then To Save a Life, which is kind of other side of the spectrum, just a good Christian movie. Especially for high schoolers, and I was in high school when I saw it. I don't know how to define Christian movie because really it just means indie and cheap as of right now. So I guess, you know, Captain America could technically be a Christian movie. He's a Christian. I'll let you guys decide how to define that. Please leave your comment in the comment section down below with your answer. Make sure you check out GeeksOutofGrace.com for more geeky content. My name's Cody Armour, bringing Christian news and a not so boring getaway every Tuesday and Thursday. In closing, let the haters hate, let the Christians pray, and to everybody like subscribe. I will see you later, and God bless.